Many older Americans are forced to sell their paid off houses. And you might be wondering, why are they selling their paid off houses? Isn't that the American dream? You work hard, you pay off your house, and then you go into retirement and you get a chance to relax. But they're forgetting three things that people don't plan ahead for or weren't worried about that sneak up on them when they're retiring and they're trying to use their paid off house. And the number one thing is property taxes. Property taxes go up annually by 2, 7, and in some markets, double digits. So if property taxes are constantly raising and they don't have the income to pay those property taxes, they're just going to lose the house, because if you don't pay a property tax, you're going to lose the house. And one example of how fast property taxes can rise: from 2021 to 2024, property taxes increased it by 27%. That outpaced most income sources. And usually by this time, people are retiring, so they're not working anymore. They're living off their pension. They're probably collecting Social Security. But how can you keep up with that? If property taxes are increasing by 27% and say Social Security is increasing by, it's adjusted for inflation, like 2-3%, there's no way that can be paced. So you're just going to get behind in your property tax and then lose the house. And even if you can keep up with property tax, because there are some programs where you could defer property tax, number two is what usually sneaks up on them, and that is maintenance. I didn't know this, but most of the houses built in the United States were built before 1980. So that means most of the houses are 40 years plus old. And I've seen this even with my own grandparents having an older house, and then they're old, they're like in their 50s or 60s, and then things start breaking down, like water heaters, the roof goes, foundation crack, so many issues, and then unexpected things like the house next door to my grandparents' house caught on fire, and the fire damaged our house in the process, and they had to pay for that. And then they didn't have the funds to pay for that because either one of them wasn't working. They both were retired. So they had to take out like reverse mortgages or home equity lines of credit to pay for those things. And that was really, really hard because you're basically just taking out another mortgage. You're going back into debt. You have a mortgage, you have a payment that you have to pay every day. And then you compound that with upgoing higher property taxes. You have a recipe for disaster. And that's what's catching off a lot of older Americans off guard by not planning ahead for these things, or just not being able to even keep up with them, because what can you really do if your income sources can't keep up pace with that? And with the maintenance and the property tax. And number three is, which I referred to in number two, is, okay, you have all this equity built up into your house. And they say like older Americans have about $13.95 trillion with a T built up in equity in their houses. But how can you access that equity? You have to like take out a home equity line of credit or a reverse mortgage or something like that and put yourself back on the hamster wheel. And unless you use that equity to either like start an income producing venture or something, you're basically back in the rat race. And another two factors too, with like property tax, upgoing on property maintenance and all that. And also another one that people don't mention is insurance. Insurance increases too, and it's also outpacing. So you have insurance rising, you have maintenance costs going up because the house is getting older and a lot of things need to be replaced, because they say like a lot of things after the 40-year, like foundation, roof, other things have to replace because that's just the end of life of the maintenance of those things. And your income not keeping up because you're retired. What are older Americans to do? Like I said, I seen my grandparents go through this, and it was so bad that they actually lost the house, even with the help of my mother and uncles and all that. that was not enough support for them to keep the house. So I've seen this in real life, and it's really, really heartbreaking to lose a house like that. But let me know what you think about this. What can people do about this? Is there any solution to this? Did I miss anything? Did I get anything wrong? Thank you for watching.